Hi everybody, Carol here. Today I have the second set of 10 cards from the Simon Says Stamp July 2018 card kit. I've already done one video with 10 cards and this makes 20 cards. But I'd said in the last one that I would keep making cards till I ran out of supplies or ideas, and I've run out of supplies. So I wanted to share this with you. It's long, and I'm sorry for that, but you can fast forward through it if you have to. As far as the 10 cards, there may be one more thing that I can add to this in a separate video, but I'll tell you about that at the end. So here we go. The first card is one from a sheet of paper, and you can see me punching a hole there. I used the top of the tablet, and you get an extra ½ inch up there with the hole, and so I just punched with a 1/4 inch punch another hole and out of a scrap sheet of paper, and it fit perfectly. But this is, you can see the card there. This is a sheet of cardstock that was in the little tablet, and I cut them apart just along the lines, the wavy lines of the water and the wavy lines of the beach, and then another wavy line. But what I did was I took my makeup sponge with some neutral ink, this is Sahara sand, and went around it and then just stuck it right back, slid it right back in the place where it had been cut off. And I did the same thing with this one, and it just gives it dimension. It's surprising how much it looks like separate sheets of paper, and so I like that look. Now I'm going to cover up that really pretty print with some of my stash paper. I tried to match as best I could, and you could do the same thing with whatever you have. I will take my makeup sponge and that neutral ink and sometimes just kind of splot around to kind of change that color a little bit. But and then what was left over I'm cutting off, of course, and then I made another little piece, a wavy piece on top and a wavy piece on bottom. There I am doing the little splotchy thing with the makeup sponge. Go around the edges, just stick it somewhere on there, and it adds even more dimension. Now I stamped off these flamingos and I cut them out with a die, and I did 3 out of pink cardstock and then 2 out of white cardstock that I colored with Prisma pencils. And that one I'm peeling off. I had already put the glue on all of them, and that one just shows I used the Tombow repositionable glue, Mono Multi. And then that center flamingo, I wanted him to stand out from the pack, so I put some foam tape on the back of him that came in the kit. And so it's just the pack there running down the beach, and I colored their tips with some black ink and put a little white strip on the top of the beak with the Jelly Roll pen. Now the next card is the same size. Well, this one might be a little, that first card I believe was a little larger, but the rest of them, majority of them, are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I'm using the pineapple on this, and You're One Cool Pineapple. You can see where I've already stamped those in the glasses, but I also punched some holes on the part of the pineapple, I think we call it the eye, and I'm laying it down on this black cardstock and going through with a white pen so that I can see it, or pencil, chalk pencil, so I can see where those holes are. And here's why. I have a little scrap of that beautiful glitter paper, and I want to put it back behind, and I wanted to know where those holes were going to fall. So I put it down first and then covered it up so that that would shine through the holes. Now here's what I did. I didn't have a hole punch that would fit those exact holes, so I have a Martha Stewart screw punch, and it comes with, I just wanted to show you, it comes with 3 tips, 3 different sizes. You unscrew that little piece there, put in the size hole you want, screw that back on, and that is it. That's all there is to it. Now I want you to watch how the paper twists when you mash that down. I just think it's hilarious. It's almost worth doing it just to see that. On the red it doesn't seem to twist as fast, but it does, and that's why it's called a screw punch. And so those holes fit just fine, and that's what I use oftentimes if I don't have the correct size hole punch. Now I put down another little narrow strip of black, and then again scraps. You can see I'm having to piece it together of that beautiful glitter paper with just a little bit of black shining behind it, or showing behind it. Using the heart stamps in this kit, I tried to find a rose colored ink that would match, and the best I came up was with this one, and if I stamped it off once first. You can see it makes it a lighter color, and to me it matches better. So there's the first stamping. Now I'm going to use the second stamping, and I think it matches pretty well. I want it to be kind of in the background, really, not just all that outstanding. Now this heart is a little bit bigger, putting it on the right hand side, and just kind of finishes it off, fills in that gap a little bit. So I'm just showing not to use that, but if you wanted to write a note, you would probably put another piece of white paper on the inside. And so there it is up close. I did use a pencil just to draw a little bit of shading underneath that to kind of ground that pineapple. So your one cool pineapple, and that's the way that glitter paper shows through, and I was just tickled with that. I thought that looked so neat. You can see it shining and shimmering back behind there. So now we're ready for the next card. This one again is the same size, and I've already set my pieces aside and with the glue on them. This is that beautiful hot pink, and you can see the back of the pattern paper. That was two-sided pattern paper, so you can see the back side. Now this is something I've done before. I've told you I got the idea from Sandy Genovese. You take 2 strips of cardstock, same size, same height. Take one of them to the trimmer and just make slices and slices like that. Doesn't matter what size they are. And then you just start lining them up, gluing them down. And I do 2 cards like this, one with that darker color, yellow, and then the very pale yellow. Now in that kit, in that pack of papers, there were some little scenes like this, landscape style scenes. One of a pool, one of the water. I can't remember right now what the other one was, so I chose that one, glued it down, did the sun stamp from the kit, and then above those little strips of paper were these little tiny strips of sayings like beach bum, whatever. So I put it up there, and then I cut out a little umbrella top from another piece of pattern paper, just put it as a garnish, you might say, a little edge between those two, and also cut off one of the palm fronds from one of the trees and just stuck it up under that paper just for some dimension and interest. When you have little white edges around something that small, it's hard to cut out exactly right. I try to go back with a colored pencil and cover over those white streaks with the matching color of the background so that it just kind of fades in. And then there was this really cute little puff sticker of a bird that had almost the exact same colors as those papers down there, so I couldn't resist. So I'm just perching him on top of that landscape picture there, and put him up there again just for color and interest. Now that's where I got the umbrella, and you can see there's a larger piece of paper that has those same umbrellas, and that's also where I got the little palm tree fronds of the one on the left. They were so small, and now you can see what they look like. And I was trying to line up the shading. Some of the shading was off a little bit to the side, some was straight up and down, but that's how I determined where to place those things. Now the next card. This one is very similar. As I said, I had 2 of these different color stripes. This is a different, obviously a different strip of paper, and on this one's a little more simple, but I like it a lot. And these were the little heart-shaped sunglasses, and just stuck them up above the landscape picture there, and a little saying that says sunshine in gold, and it kind of glitters and shines. And so I'm putting it right there, as you can see. So this card is a lot simpler, less complicated, you might say, less things on it than the other one, but I like it. And so I'm just showing you, if you wanted to mount this on anything, what it would look like with different colors. Now the next card is the most complicated of all the cards that I did this time, so I'm going to have a separate video because this is called a side stack card. And there was no way I could go into all the instructions on how to do this, and because the video is long enough as it is, and I apologize for that. But this, I just cut out some bumpy lines and did some clouds with some ink and a Mako sponge. I wanted the word like fantastic, so I did it with my brush lettering, but if you don't do that, you could use any kind of stamp that you have. I'm saying fantastic because this features the beautiful, beautiful butterfly stickers. I thought this might work too, and this is from the stamp set, You Bring Sunshine. Now, this just kind of hit me at the last minute. I thought, I believe I'll make a fence using those little bit of the wooden strips I have left from the last 10 cards. And then I thought, it's a picket fence. I thought, oh my goodness, they need to be kind of apart. And then if they're going to be kind of apart, I need to show some fence rails back behind them. So I'll explain all this in the individual video. But so I just used some of my scraps from my stash to make those rails, and you'll get the idea here. You know, I just cut some points on those strips to make them look like pickets. And so go back and cut off those ends, put on my fantastic saying. I could easily have said, You Bring the Sunshine, and that looks good too. I just wanted it to be a little simpler. And so then I also did another sun and stuck it in the corner. And here come the butterflies. These are all stickers. So they're easy enough to put down, and I'm not going to take you through all of them. I'll just show you how I'll kind of place them in the sky, which is showing behind the fence. And then I'm going to put some on the side over there too. Now, 2 of them I put foam tape behind, mounting tape, so that they would stand out a little bit. There'd be a little dimension. And that's one of them right there. And this foam tape did come in the kit. And so peel that backing off. And I like to use the tweezers. It helps me with placement, and so I can actually see the item. And so I go on and on with those. And then the ones on the side, and this one that I'm doing right here, does actually stick off the card. And I thought, rather than just cut it off, if it'll fit in an envelope, I'm going to let it do that. But when it sticks off and comes off the white paper, it's clear. And so you all of a sudden you kind of don't see the rest of the wing very well. So what I did, and I did take the time to show you, but I'll have it in that video, is just cut off some little pieces of white paper and glue and stick them. You don't have to glue them because they're already sticky. Just stick them back behind that wing. And then I thought, oh, I have to put some on the fence. They're coming in. So I put a couple of little ones on the fence. Then when I opened the card up, I was showing how the white card goes behind that wing. And I saw the dimension that was there. I thought, I need some even down deeper in that little valley down there. So when the card is open, so and I'm cutting off that sun right now. But I did decide to go back and put a couple more little butterflies down in the valley down there, so you're not just looking at absolutely nothing when the card is sitting upright like that. And this is the paper that I got that from. You may remember this card from the other kit, and they looked like wood to me, so I just had those scraps left over. Now the next card, this is their beautiful yellow, going around it with the makeup sponge and the Sahara sand, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 dimension. This is their beautiful blue. I'm getting down to very little paper now, and another strip of the beautiful pink. I go around all of those pieces with the neutral ink. This was one of the pattern papers, obviously, and I just cut it to where 2 of the little strips of words show. And flip-flops, pool, so forth. See the stripe paper off to the left. On the other side of it were rectangular pictures of different, and that's one of them right there. So I cut black rectangles to fit those little pictures, just to barely hang out, but just to give them dimension and frame them and make them really stand out. And so those were the three that I chose: the boat, the little Adirondack chair, beach chairs, and the bicycle. And so then again, I die cut another flamingo, colored it, and I wanted him to be able to stand out a little bit in that middle, since where his head goes, there are pictures back there. So I just cut out some little pieces of cardstock just to build his body up a little bit, so that when I put it down, his head is about the same level as those pictures back there, same amount of cardstock height back behind there. And for it to be so simple, I think it's really pretty. I think it's the colors as much as anything. So again, color the beak. Now another card, we're getting close to the end now. This was their green, olive looking green, and one of the pattern papers with the umbrellas. I loved those umbrellas. I left a little edge of the green showing of the cardstock. In other words, cut this just slightly smaller than the 5.5-inch dimension. The black came out of my stash, but I wanted that raised up, and again to make a little frame for this little piece of cardstock, printed cardstock. So it is raised up. It casts a shadow naturally because it's raised up. I did another flamingo. Love those flamingos. And it colored it, and because you can see it's white cardstock, and put some foam tape behind it so that its head would come up to the level of where that upper piece is. And so then again, there's that one I did earlier. You bring the sunshine. I thought it was too big, so I did go to my stash for this little happy stamp. And I just wanted it to be simple. I wanted to say something, but I didn't want it to take away from everything else. It's pretty busy. So now I had that tiny bit of the beautiful glitter paper left. I went around all these edges with the neutral ink. I loved that palm tree paper, and I had to splice it there. And I tried, and I did, was able to match up the blue waves on that paper. And so I had this little strip of the blue and another strip of the blue. So I'm doing the basket weave technique kind of again, but just with those little pieces of paper. You can see I had to splice that because there just was so little of that left. And then this piece, I'm going to go, if the blue went under, then I want it to go on top and vice versa. And so I'm just doing that tiny little basket weave right there at that intersection of the blues and the pink glitter, just to add dimension and interest. And didn't want to waste that glitter paper. So I have to cut off those edges that are sticking out. And off the top. Now I decided to go with the pineapple on this one. I've done so many flamingos, so I just stamped it and colored it. And I'm just keeping it simple. Pineapples and palm trees. Just colored it with the Prismacolors, the yellows and the golden colors, mustard color and a little bit of orange. I did the eyes with 2 different shades of brown. And so it's everything's rather simple. I don't think anything necessarily takes away from anything else. In other words, I don't know which one is really the highlight of the card, because the background paper is really pretty. The the glitter paper is really pretty. The pineapple stamp is pretty. And then this is a little gold sticker out of the kit that says "You've got style." And I think I actually ended up moving it later on up a little higher. You can move it at least once. I know that. I haven't tried to move it more than once, those stickers. So that's what that looks like. Still glittering. And the gold glitters too from the letters. Now this one is similar to some of the others in that they're the scenes. So I used my stash. I'm showing how I use the edge of my makeup sponge to make a line there with ink to just kind of look like a sand dune there, and to get some dimension. Cut my wavy line again, went around the edge. This blue paper is the end with the hole. This is the end of the pack with the hole. And this was another beautiful beach scene. I want to extend the water to look as if the water, the bay, whatever that is, it is coming on further out. There is more water. So the bottom piece covers up that hole. I cut another punch with my 1/4 inch hole punch and plug that in. Then I wanted to extend the beach. I didn't want that just cut off in a straight line. So I took my stash, I just laid a piece of paper up there and kind of drew along the same lines of that shoreline. Just a curvy line. Just, you know, it doesn't have to be exact. And then I continued that line with a pencil, just so it will look as if it really belongs there. And glued that on down, and then I did the same thing on the other side with just a tiny little piece, but it makes a difference. Instead of just being straight and flat, it has a curve to it. So I did the same thing, just kind of eyeballed what that would look like to curve that on out. And I had a pencil line there, so I had to erase that. And flip it over and cut those two edges off. And to me, it just looks so much better that way than just a straight piece that's just cut off. The picture's just cut off. Another flamingo, this time out of colored cardstock. There's the die that I've been using. It cuts really well. It's a nice die. Now this is how I get highlights, either with a colored pencil or a Versamark pen. And this one has just been glued already. Gonna stick it right on down. The saying on this, I was just trying different places to put it. This one says, "on my mind." So it doesn't show up right there till I get up a little closer. The gold is reflecting and the plastic is reflecting. But there it is. I think it's a pretty scene. I like it. I liked those pattern papers a lot. Now, I do believe this is the last one, and this one is very simple, but I'm using those bright colors, last of the yellow. All these little black squares are 1 1/8 inch, and I had it in my head just to space them around with a cluster of 3 in the middle that kind of overlap. They're all that size except for 2, and they're much smaller. I don't know exactly what they are. They're the same height, but they're thinner, I should say. And I'm going to go back and mount all that pink you see over there on top of these, and I'm going to put the puff stickers. Well, about 3 or 4 of them I already had the stickers on to see what they look like. And so I'm going back. There's a watermelon, butterfly, shell, cactus. I go back later, and oh yes, and I did need to mount that one. I wanted that one up on foam tape to make it even have another dimension. I go back and tweak these, is what I was going to say later off camera, because they weren't maybe perfectly straight. They may still not be perfectly straight, but just tried to line them up a little better. Now I had, again, just some little thin strips left, and this was that polka dot. Excuse my hair. It doesn't match exactly. I know it doesn't, but I just love the whimsical look, and I think it goes okay together because of that bright yellow, I guess, and the black. So when I put that down on the edge, I did have to move that right-hand square because it was too far over. But and then I had marked where I might want to put that. So cut off those little edges. I love polka dots anyway. But so then I bring in the puffy stickers, and I just have to decide what I want to put where. I started with that one, and then I decided to go with the suitcase. And I do better with the tweezers as far as placement goes, that I can, I don't have my fingers in the way where I can't see. A bird. I did a shoe, I'd say a beach shoe, sandal, a flower. At this point, I'm kind of trying to match up the colors or even out the colors more than anything else. And so that does it for the puppy stickers. And I wanted one little saying at the bottom. I decided to use the best. I've tried to use this on a lot of cards. I wanted to use it on a lot of cards. It's a good little saying. It doesn't fit like that in the middle, I didn't think. So I thought, well, I'll cut it apart and spread it around the bottom. I wanted to cut off that little edge so that I could see really how it fits and where exactly I want to put it, since it is a sticker. And so here I go with the tweezers again. Put down the first, knowing that if I have to, I can move it. I just don't really want to if I don't have to. So, and there is the best. Decided to bring them a little closer together. And there you go. Not bad for a simple card. But it gives you a lot to look at, doesn't it? Okay, these are the scraps I had. Can you imagine those little strips I glued down on a sheet of paper just to show you? Now, that's the last of the cardstock and the printed cardstock, and I am saving that for something else. There's not much there, but I'm saving it. Hopefully, I might make a little travel booklet video just by itself. I want to do the butterfly card. I will probably say that. Butterfly card, 20 cards, one kit, Simon Says, July 2018. And then the other one, and it'll say sidestep card, because that's what that is. And the other one will say travel booklet. That's what I have in my mind to make. Same thing, 20 cards, one kit, Simon Says, stamp July 2018. And that other video, the sidestep video, will be a lot like the one I did there for the flamingo card, which was a shadow box, an accordion shadow box. And those just take more time. That's just all there is to it. And so now these are just the still shots. I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too long for you, but I thoroughly enjoyed working with this card kit. It just had so much to use, and I'm grateful for that. I wanted to show you that right there. There are a couple more cards that I have using that little striped treatment, and just to show you the comparison. So you can go back and look at those if you'd like to. So thank you again so much. There's the envelope. That's what those cards look like in that cute envelope. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. See you next time.